Welcome to SailGP on the Lock. My name is Jody Shiels and I'm joined once again with Anna Willcox and Chris Steele. Welcome both of you.
Thanks for having us. Pumped to be here, guys.
So good to be back, Jody. Event 2 for us here with SailGP on the Lock, and practice racing yesterday is anything to go by. It's going to be bloody exciting today.
Yeah, just give us a quick intro about yourself, Anna.
We're done, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, the practice racing was pretty awesome yesterday, Chris. So one thing we have got, if we've got an interview with Tom Slingsby, there's a lot of controversy coming out of the Christchurch event, and I was lucky enough to have a quick chat to Tom Slingsby. So have a listen to this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've been lucky enough to score a little interview with Tommy Slingsby. Tommy's fresh in Bermuda. Tom, how are you, mate?
Yeah, going well, thanks, guys.
That's the way, mate. The boat got there. The boat's in one piece, mate. What's the feeling?
Yeah, the boat's back together again. I'm actually just standing here looking at it on the mooring. Yeah, huge thank you to the SailGP tech team and all the boat builders and our shore manager, Aidan Menzies, and everyone who's put a lot of effort in to get us back on the water. It was a lot of damage, and I just really appreciate all the help we've received to get us back here racing.
Yeah, obviously Christchurch was a big hit to the campaign. You were leading going into Christchurch, and now second behind the Kiwis because you had no results, and you copped massive penalties out of the Christchurch event, which you had your say about, mate. And you obviously weren't too happy about the penalties. So
I mean, I got asked to put out I didn't want to put anything out there, really. I just sort of wanted to move on. But, yeah, I thought it was a bit harsh. I see people saying that I thought that we deserved no penalty and all that. That's not the case. Actually, yeah, we deserve penalty points. I just thought the amount of penalty points we received was quite harsh. But, look, everyone's got their own opinion. I understand that my opinion's probably a bit biased, but we're just looking forward to moving on and concentrate on the rest of the season. It's a bit of a bummer. We're trying to win the season points, and now that's taken a big hit. But yeah, honestly, the Kiwis, especially the last 5 events or so, they've been the form team, and now they've got the lead in the championship. And yeah, for us, it's probably, if anything, maybe pressure off a little, because now we can sort of just start concentrating on ourselves a bit more and try to get some good results.
I was about to say that, Tom. For 3 seasons, mate, you've been the chased. Everyone's chased you the whole time, and now all of a sudden, you guys can do the chasing. So, the pressure's now on the Kiwis. Pete's obviously had a bit to say in the last Racing on the Edge. He said that the only way the Aussies beat you was when they were slightly weakened squad and they had Nathan steering. So, he's throwing the gauntlet down, mate.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised to hear that. It's not really what you should be saying. Or definitely there's a weakened squad. Anything he's involved in. So I was a bit surprised to hear that. At the end of the day, Pete and his team are the top team at the moment, and he's got the right to say a lot of these things, that they have been beating us. We were a consistent team at the start of the year, but they've won a lot more events than us this year. And so, yeah, I mean, I've got nothing bad to say about Pete and the Kiwis. I think they're unbelievable and they're deserving of the top spot at the moment. And I'm really focused inwards, really. I'm focused on ourselves and me personally becoming the best driver I can be and doing my job well. And then I think if our Aussie team really focus on ourselves and we get to the level we know we can, we'll be up there competing with them and these event wins and racing for the season wins. So we're not too focused on them. We're going to concentrate on ourselves.
It'd be a nice little redemption, mate, going back to Bermuda where they stole the cup off you. So you could come back to take one back on them this weekend, which I'm sure all the Aussie fans out there and all the Australian SailGP fans would love to happen, mate. All the best for the weekend. Thank you very much for your time. I know you're really stretched out there. And, mate, what's the best SailGP radio show going around at the moment?
And we had
mate, it's yours for sure. No doubt, on the lock.
Thanks,
without a doubt.
All right, mate. Good luck for the weekend, mate. And we will be watching. So cheers for that.
But the positive
mate. Cheers. Thank you.
Seriously hurt.
Well, there you go, guys. There's a quick little interview with Tom Slingsby the other day. You can tell that he was very disappointed about the points that he got given to the team, which has put him back in the second. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, they are. I think the points system has been incredibly harsh, but I guess, like Pete said in the press conference yesterday, the rules are clear. So it's pretty tough for the Aussies, though. I'm not going to lie.
It's about the comeback, right?
Yeah, and I think probably one of the big things that obviously impacts the racing so heavily for these guys. In the past, the top three have made it into the final sort of race at the end where you race for the $1 million, but this season they've added a $400,000 prize bonus for the winner of the actual season, and so I think that's why you see these guys starting to really get upset when they start giving these points, because it's not just the opportunity at the final race, it's a lot of money at stake for the season as well.
The old cashola. Everyone gets cranky when the cashola's not coming in. We just seen on the broadcast a bit of a drama coming out of yesterday with the USA team going A over T and putting that wing in the water. They're out. They're out. For the people that don't know, the USA will not be racing here in Bermuda for the weekend. So that was a pretty big full-on effort.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that was wild. And we're getting lots of people tuning in from around the world. And one of the questions that we got hit off is, why is Taylor still driving the USA boat? So, Chris, you want to expand on that?
Well, it's a pretty interesting situation that the US guys are facing at the moment. Obviously, being a new team, they'll be the newest team out there on the water from front to sort of back. And I guess, there's a lot of pressure about, trying to improve your learning curve and get better results, which takes time. But unfortunately for the guys that are coming in, it's extremely difficult because these boats are so unique and different to anything else that, experience really does pay. And when you have an incident like they had yesterday in practice racing and capsize and rule yourself out for the weekend, you're certainly not going to catch up in time on the water to these other teams when you're sitting on the sidelines. So it's a really sort of a heavy blow, I think, for the US guys, because you learn a lot more when you're out there sailing the boats than you will do on the land. So pretty upsetting for them and all the US fans back home around the world. But
Lindsay Vonn, she has now invested in the team. They've got all these amazing athletes who have invested, and Lindsay Vonn is the latest, the skier from the US. So I wonder what she's thinking about this. But obviously, it was a big day of practice racing yesterday. Who for you guys stood out as some of the heavy hitters that will be coming in hot today?
Yeah, I think probably the team to sort of watch in these sort of conditions would have to be the French. Obviously outside of New Zealand and Australia, who are really strong in these conditions. But interesting thing for me is going to be the battle of the midfield. I think you've sort of got the Danish, the Brits, and the Swiss, who are all sailing really well at the moment. And obviously with the Swiss having Nathan Outeridge, I think any one of those three teams could be a mover today. And then the one that we don't know too much about after yesterday is the Canadians, who are out testing some new foils. So look for Phil Robertson to... he always seems to find a way to stake his mark and hit the ground running. So look for him to be aggressive and get off the line well in race one.
There's only 3 events after this one. We go up to Halifax, then we're down to New York, then over San Fran. So this is definitely make or break weekend for those mid-packers. And as we can see, we've got 1 minute left to go. Very small little starting box, as per usual in SailGP. They're all just ripping in here now, trying to get their spot. The Canadian team, Tam.
You can see
you
the teams
mentioned Chris
port
went in there nice and early.
Yeah, in general, the teams are approaching the line a lot later. But the thing I like about what the Canadians have done here is they get set up and everything's coming at them. It's all in front of them. They can see where the start line is. You can see where your competitors are, and you can make your judgment based on where you want to set up with what's in front of you. Whereas everyone else coming into the box on port. You know, they're trying to look at the start line over their left shoulder, and then they've got competitors coming at them from the right, and it gets pretty messed up pretty quickly. So
keep your eye on the French here. They've turned very late, and they're trying for a full-on go. They're just below the Swiss there.
I like the Aussies.
Have they got their timing right?
Jody. If the Jodies get the time, if the Aussies get the time and distance here, I think they're going to nail the start.
Oh, yeah. Cracking start by all three boats, by all four. Aussies in the middle gone. Nice start. Nice work from them. We've just got to push across the front of the Canadian boat. So what's your thought on that start, Anna?
Yeah, no, absolutely loving it. I'm just dealing with some tech issues on the side, but oh man, that looks like these guys are firing off. I love it. Where's the Kiwis? Come on. Sorry, I'm a little bit biased here as a Kiwi.
The French, they were strong yesterday in that practice race, and said he's got that thing wound up again. They love breeze.
Yeah, they certainly do like the breeze a little bit more. I think they just push really hard. You know, they're obviously pretty versatile sailors when it comes to multi-hulls. They've sailed a lot of different boats, but yeah, they push really hard in the breeze, and I think some of the other teams might maybe not push as hard sometimes, and it certainly pays off for the French. But once again, it's the Aussies out in front. They'll be looking to stake their claim after obviously a disappointing result in Christchurch.
Interesting that Canada jibed off real early to try and get away from the rest of the fleet. Phil might want to set himself up for one jibe and into the right-hand side and come off this Morgan's Point side of the racetrack. But it's pretty close. The Aussies are smoking down right in front of the French. Outridge and the Swiss team not too far behind the Kiwis, Anna, for you, or mid-packing.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. The conditions look fun, and I think it's all going to be a little bit chaotic here when they get to this gate, right?
Yeah, it always is.
Phil's done a nice job in just separating himself there. He's got a nice tight cross between him and the Swiss. What's the Swiss going to do? Drive on the inside.
Yeah, Phil
Outridge, you're going to hurt there.
Yeah, I don't think Outridge is going to have to soak down and might fall off the foil here, and that'll be very costly. Yeah,
Pete Burling will come flying in there and just give him more grief here. Oh,
this is going to go from bad to worse for Nathan here. Look at this. Burling
slower than a wet week going around that mark.
And you watch the Danish are going to come through as well. They'll slingshot around the outside.
Oh, no.
He is just being swallowed. Most of the fleet's come to this left-hand side looking upwind. There's only two boats by the looks of it, the Aussies and the French that have gone to the right. Or maybe the Spanish have now followed them, and the Germans by the looks of it. But what a costly error there by the Swiss. Maybe they just didn't see the Kiwis till really late.
They just weren't crossing, Jody, and it wasn't by much. So I think they pushed into the last minute. And then they tried to jibe in front, but on a tight ley line that never works in foiling boats because you can't do the two manoeuvres, and the only way to get there is by coming off the foil and soaking.
Oh, mate, what happened to the French just there?
French just had a moment coming off that tack, got it all crossed up. That's going to hurt them. The Canadians are coming across pretty quick. This could be a tight cross when we get back to the overhead. The Canadians have got them.
Yeah.
Geez, the Aussies have extended.
Yeah, well, the difference there was the French were right next to the Aussies, probably only 50 metres behind, and then obviously nailed the tack, and the French didn't. And so you can see the difference on the graphics there. It's sort of 200 metres if you have a bad tack. So yeah, that's created a lot of room at the front for the Australians, and now it's a battle for second.
Here's a conspiracy theory. Maybe they hit that mark in Christchurch on purpose because the boat was starting to rack. They got a new beam and they got this whole new stiff platform now. So there you go. Let's throw that out there.
Are you calling another yellow sandpaper gate sort of here, Jody?
Not quite as controversial.
You're pretty renowned for cheating, so it wouldn't surprise me.
It's not cheating, mate. It's using the rules to your advantage. Anyway, back to the racing. The Aussies they've legged it. 100 metres to go to the top mark, and they're already 100, 150 metres in front of this fleet.
Yeah, well, they've got some redemption to be had, don't they, after obviously everything that happened in Christchurch.
100%. And there's been a lot of chit-chat online. You know, Slingsby's gone online, as you heard from our interview, and he wasn't real happy with the penalty points. So everyone knows in the sailing world, you do not piss Tom Slingsby off and expect him to sit down and take it. So he would have come into this weekend absolutely red misting off the Richter scale. and he'd be loving the fact that he's 300 metres in front of the next boat after literally a leg and a half.
One of the things I sort of noticed yesterday in the practice racing, and I've just sort of seen it again there now, is these teams are sort of struggling a lot more with the ley lines in Bermuda than they were in sort of venues like the last one in Christchurch. And I think it's just because the pressure differences and the breeze shifting around a lot more out there on the Bermuda Sound. And so, the Kiwis overlaid that top mark there by probably 150, 200 metres. And if you look at where they are in relation to the French and the Canadians right now, they probably would have been right there with them if they'd got that ley line. And so I sort of heard on one of the onboard audios before that last race, Phil Robertson saying that the ley lines are, well, just where they are, get your eyes out of the boat sort of thing. And that obviously refers to the fact that he thinks that it's too variable out there to be relying on the software, because the software changes so much depending on pressure differences and wind angles. So very much a head out of the boat sort of day. So look to see some boats out there nailing some ley lines and making some big gains, and others that miss ley lines and lose a lot.
And we've got this is obviously a big race course in comparison to, like you said, maybe Christchurch as well. So that, I guess, creates more opportunity for passing. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely a lot more room for passing. But one thing that sort of does sort of dull down is the manoeuvres that the boat's sort of making. So doing less manoeuvres, but more separation, which creates opportunity anytime you've got leverage on another boat. So if the breeze is shifty and patchy, which it certainly is out there, if there's some big separation between teams, there'll be some big gains and losses out there.
Massive losses, and we're talking about losses. Outreach, he was in the mix for coming into that bottom mark, and he's back to 6th with Eric Hiles giving him. Look at Eric Hile and the Germans in the middle of the course. One of those big left-hand shifts that you were talking about, Chris. He's just going straight down the course there.
Yeah, certainly looking like a shift to the left, because the Kiwis had a pretty nice angle down that first run as well.
They've come right back into it, the Germans. If you listen to the press conferences and Russell's rant, he's very impressed with how the young German team's going, and they're certainly on the up. They're definitely not going to push for this year, I don't think, but next year I reckon they're one to look out for.
Yeah, they're one of the fastest improving teams, aren't they, out there?
It's always interesting though, because if you look at the tendency of the new teams, they all sort of have moments in their first season where they become really strong and show a lot of promise. I certainly saw that with the Spanish, sort of halfway through their first season with their new skipper. They made massive improvements, and they won an event and they're on the podium in another, and then since then they've decided to kind of tape it off a fair bit, and we saw plenty of similarities with Phil Robertson with the Canadians, and before that the Spanish as well. So I wonder if, there's again that these boats are so different, but I wonder if it's easy to get sucked into sailing them based off the tech that you've got in front of you, and maybe spend less time looking out of the boat and trusting your instincts, and could go one or two ways when you start doing that.
100%, and it's shown. I think it was said that the Aussies fairly, it does come from instinct, and that just comes from sailing the boat and having experience on the boat, which obviously the new teams have less of. So I guess that it all takes time, doesn't it, and practice to get your confidence up to just trust your instincts on these sorts of boats.
Well, as all sailors know, your best instinct is your feel. You can have all the instruments in the world, but if your boat feels dog slow or things just don't seem right, you need to trust those instincts. And all these teams come in with all this whiz-bang tech and everything, and they can sometimes get wrapped up in it. And as you said, Arno, the Aussies, who have just gone around the top mark with a commanding lead, they have given this fleet an absolute bath at the moment. They sail by feel. Some teams might get wrapped up and caught up in the TV on the screen and all the data and forget to look out and look at wind shifts. But it's a good race for second and third here.
Yeah, big moment coming up here. The Canadians will cross in front of the Kiwis, and it looks like they're also laying the top right-hand gate, so they'll get through in second. But I don't think the Kiwis or the French are laying the top mark, so they're both going to have to do another manoeuvre at the top here, and it'll be the French that come back with starboard. Right as I say that, the Kiwis go into a big high mode. They might just squeeze there.
I think we've got to go all the way back to the bottom gate again and then up into the finish. It's pretty tight getting up into that finish in front of the Adrenaline Lounge, so Nice split, pretty much even between the Canadians
Kiwis
and the
actually got around
Kiwis.
really well there because the Canadians put a tight lay line into the top in the end, Jody, so they came off the foil and the Kiwis managed to stay on it. So I reckon New Zealand's going to move up into second here. It'll be a race for third.
Yeah, well, if you look at the course set up here, it'll be possibly 2 jibes for the Kiwis and maybe 1 more for the Canadians, so that could come into play.
And we'd love to know your guys' thoughts out there, so hit us up on our social channels, hit us up on our YouTube. Sorry, we've been having a little bit of tech issues on the YouTube channel, on the YouTube stream, sorry, but hopefully we're back and we're locked in with you guys. So yeah, if you guys have any questions that you want us to answer, hit us up, and I'll fire it through to the boys.
Here we go, the Aussies around the bottom mark. We had a 600, 700 metre lead to Tom Slingsby and his team from Australia after smashing into the finish mark in Christchurch. They've got the bit between their teeth and they have give this fleet a bath in race number 1 in Bermuda, and over the line they go. Massive win for their confidence.
Big starboard port coming up here between New Zealand and Canada. Canada comes across and has right of way. So they cross in front, but they're not laying that bottom gate. They'll do 1 jibe into the bottom, but the Kiwis are going to have to do 2.
Oh,
so
Willie Soak.
The Kiwis are going to come back with right of way here, but they're going to have to jibe back to go around the mark, unless they jibe before the zone. Look to see some action at the bottom here.
There they go into their jibe. It's going to be quick jibe, so they'll probably keep 2 boards in the water.
They're going to be slow, but the Canadians are outside the zone here, so the Kiwis could light them up on starboard and go straight. No.
It's a drag race. It's a drag race. Here's 2 Kiwis. Phil Robertson now has all the rights. He can jam that Kiwi boat up, and that's exactly what he's done. And he said, see you later, Pete. There's one back for you. Nice work there. Great race between them 3. France not too far behind as well.
Well, there's your answer. We picked the big 3 for the day to be France, New Zealand and Australia, and we said the Canadians might come out firing, and they have done. They've got right in the middle there, so good start for Phil and his team, considering they weren't actually practice racing yesterday.
And the Germans, that's a good result for them. They just keep being in that mid-pack, so very consistent, as we chatted about. A bit disappointing there in the Danish.
Well, the big disappointment there is probably actually the Swiss, Jody.
This bloke right now, yeah.
They were second at Mark 1, and they've slipped all the way down to 8.
What happened there? What did it come down to, do you guys think?
Well, that late jibe with the Kiwis.
They just didn't quite cross the Kiwis coming to the bottom and had to give way, and when they didn't cross and had to give way, they were short on that lay line. So, I mean, in hindsight, if you could rewind, you wouldn't have tried to go for the cross. You would have just sailed a higher mode and ducked behind the Kiwis, but hindsight is a beautiful thing.
Nice close finish for the last chocolates, and it might have been the Great Britain team that stole it off the Swiss, so Outridge might end up dead last there.
DFL.
I tell you what, they're disappointing as well. The Great Britain team really need to come into this weekend and start putting a stamp on this fleet, and for them to come second last again in perfect foiling conditions, there's something not quite right about that boat.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a very strong team. I think Giles is just maybe taking a little bit of time to get used to obviously being on the helm. He's been the backup for Ainsley for so long and sort of been his right-hand man from the tactical side. But it's different when you get given the wood for 2 reasons. Obviously, you're driving the boat, but the second one is you don't actually get as much time to get your head out of the boat as you did when you're in the strategist sort of role. So it's be a little bit frustrating for him.
Reviewing the start now, obviously, yeah, the Aussies just come out firing. Is that what you guys are able to see? Are we seeing the same pictures? We're not all together teams, so it is a little bit tricky.
No, you're right, yeah. It's all just about that angle into Mark 1, but, I mean, there's so many boats in the fleet now that, you know, being at the ideal position on the start line is one thing, but being up to speed at the wrong end of the line is actually often a lot better, because, you know, the deltas, when you've got the boat fully up and going, you know, you'd be sailing 15 knots faster, and you know, you might only be 2 or 3 knots faster at the start, but if you've got a rumble on, you know, you can convert that because you can get over the boats around you and sail the modes that you want. So the Aussies just found a really open space there on the line, and they were able to get a full slingshot. Everyone else was kind of interfering with each other, and when it gets to that situation, the rich just get richer.
All right, I think we're going to be able to dial into Aidan Menzies, who's standing on the Australian boat right now in the middle of Bermuda. So if technology works, let's see how this goes. This is a first for us, ladies and gentlemen. If it all fails, blame Anna.
No, mate, I'm dealing with... You got this.
Jody.
Aidan Menzies, you're live on SailGP on the lock, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good.
Mate, all that work you done putting that boat back together obviously worked.
And, of course, their wing trimmer, Paul Campbell. James, Phil,
Yeah,
we'll start with
boys
you.
are,
What a race. I know you love
really
these
well.
waters
They're
here
pushing
in
it to the
Bermuda.
limit.
What made that race
no better
different
way to,
from what we've seen maybe in the last 2 or 3 events?
Around the race course, so beautiful day here to do it. They've done really well.
Of the water's pretty
Mate, during the call, I'm
quite
here
a
with Anna
change.
Willcox and Chris Steele. Steele, he reckons there's a bit of controversy. He reckons he's busted the boat on purpose because the platform was starting to rack. And now you put that new Jim Beam, as the Aussies are calling it, in, and now she's nice and solid. So, any truth in that rumour?
Well, there's always, a bit of conjecture.
Phil, you did a brilliant job of a little bit of maturity at that final bottom mark to go slingshot round the outside of the Kiwi team. How satisfying was it to stick that manoeuvre?
Get a bit stiff, and we needed to throw a bit more in. So.
Yeah, we call that one the Craig Mitchell.
We can't give away too many
giving them
things,
lots of
mate.
space and not.
Anna and Chris, you got anything for...
Well, for our fouls, Aidan, you've always got the yellow sandpaper to fall back on, eh?
Oh my God, how many times are we going to bring that up?
Nice. And CJ, we can see you there, wing trimmer.
We were saying during the call... Sorry,
how
Aidan,
are
we were saying during the
set up
call
wise?
that Tommy's coming to this weekend with plenty of heat on him coming out of Christchurch.
We've done this year, where
Pretty
it's all
cranky
about
young man.
manoeuvres
I mean,
and
there's
short tacking. And
cranky
yeah,
Tom
this one is all
Slingsby
about
normally
hitting targets
performs,
and making
so
sure the boats go fast.
he'd have a smile on his face
Phil
now,
Ross
wouldn't
off
he?
the start line really well there, and
Yeah, he does, like
that
we
meant
all know.
the job of keeping clear breeze was easy, which meant going fast was easy, but you've got to keep an eye on those Aussies and Kiwis because they are
he's got a point to prove, and he's coming here absolutely locked in. And
Phil, is
we haven't seen too much miss yet, but he's definitely got that steely look in his eyes. He's here to prove a point, and great way to start it already.
All right, well, if Anna and Chris, you got anything else for Aidan?
No, it's looking great up there. So, I'm pretty jealous. Where I'd rather be right now, I think.
Yeah, mate. All the best for race 2. Nice job in race 1.
It's a beautiful day out here, so stay tuned. I think you're going to see a bit more action the next year.
We've just got you on TV now, mate. Give us a wave. Oh, they've just cut
we
it
were
out.
having a great season.
What a shocker. Just as we're about to get you.
Consistent.
Hey, mate, before you go, what's the best sailing radio show going around?
What's the best radio show? The On the Lock.
Mate, you're on it.
All
There
buddy.
it is, mate. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time.
An 8-point lead to a 9 points behind.
Well, there you go. How cool's that? Straight from the boat.
Perfect, mate. Technology's working for us right now. Let's long may it continue.
You don't get that on the broadcast.
And for any of the people, any of the listeners out there that are
I don't
tuned
think
in,
that
if
we
you
should
have any
be
questions that
not penalised or given redress or
you want us to
anything like
answer,
that.
or you want us to
It's
try and
part
get
of
across,
racing.
fire them
The fact
through.
is, if
Shout
I went
outs,
straight into Canada,
just anything at
and
all.
injured people,
We'd love to hear from you guys. We're here for you guys.
There's a high
for
chance
your
I'll be walking away
entertainment
with,
and hopefully bringing you guys some
penalty
quality
points.
sailing chat.
and keep racing
Boys
in the
doing a good
the
job so
event.
far. Chris, you're a
The way the umpires looked at it
current
was
sailor right now.
based
When you're
on
not on
their
the golf
flowchart,
course,
which is
you
how
are
they
actually
assess
sailing,
damage.
aren't you? What have
If
you
you
been
look
up
at
to
the
since
flowchart, it's like
the
minor
Christchurch
damage,
event?
damage, serious damage.
Yeah, well,
and everyone
actually
else that
quite a bit of
weekend
golf,
came off with
funnily
damage.
enough, aren't
Yeah, I know.
because they could keep sailing. But it was serious
we've had
damage
busy
because the
stint
Australians
sailing
couldn't keep sailing.
since Christchurch. Been over in the
And
States with
essentially, the
M32s,
Australians came
and
out
then
with almost worst case
competed in the
scenario
Congressional
where the
Cup
season points were
in
so
Long Beach
significant
sort of last week.
that
So
you
yeah,
know,
really
not only are they
fun
knocked off
couple of
first
weeks of
place,
sailing,
but they're at risk
as
of not
always,
making the
keen to
I
to
feel
tune
like
in and check
for
out
me, the umpires
SailGP
should be able to
racing.
see that
What
it's
better
not all
place
black
than
and
to-
white. There
to
are
watch
grey
that,
areas
from
in our
Bermuda. It
sport,
looks
and
awesome out
I
there.
think the penalty
Milky
was
waters,
too harsh.
sunny,
My
warm,
feeling was we
and
just
always
didn't
plenty of
deserve the
breeze.
maximum points.
And it's
ever
very
given
remiss of
in
me at the very
SailGP,
top of the
but we've
show.
had
We've
what
got to
I'll call
congratulate
quite
one of our
reckless
members.
Sailing at times. For
Last
4
time she
seasons,
was
we've led the season
little bit
points
busy
and
with,
always had a
cooking
big
a
target
baby.
on our back.
And Anna,
this is
you've
the
had your
first time where
beautiful
we've
baby
actually been
boy.
behind on
Congratulations.
points,
Thank you.
I
Now I'm
think I need to
busier.
change the way I'm
It's a
sailing.
lot easier to cook a
I think
baby
I just
than,
need to learn the lessons
than parent a baby.
and, move on and
not getting
keep
too much
racing
sleep,
hard.
but yeah, thanks so much. I'll be peeing a lot less this time, so I'm here for the long haul.
No locking herself out of the studio, Steely.
No.
Anyway, so what was our thoughts from that? From race number 1, the next race is in 8 minutes. What was our thoughts from what we've seen there?
I guess, like you said before, when Tom's got a point to prove and he's pissed off, he does well, and that's exactly what we saw. Unfortunately, if you're not a fan of the Aussies like I am, so yeah.
Come on.
Nah,
push.
It's like Max Verstappen who constantly wins. It gets boring. Come on.
I think your Kiwi boys are certainly trying to change that. Let's chat about Outridge and that moment. You know, he's came into this team. They came in last, or they were last when he took over the team. He's fighting for his future. He's quite open in saying he wants another drive.
So long to get a win on the board this
They
season.
were once again in a strong
They obviously got
position,
one against us when we're in a
and then
slightly weakened squad,
one
so,
manoeuvre
yeah,
and it just
looking
puts them
forward
back.
to trying to beat them again.
They've got to cut that out of their
Peterborough
repertoire.
time right now.
Yeah, it's sort of
Stick the
something
knife
that I had
saying,
in the
yeah,
notes from
you should be
yesterday as
worried
well. I
about
mean,
me.
obviously someone of Nathan's calibre and experience levels, he's always going to find ways to put the boat in the right place. And, you know, it takes a lot of skill to be able to do that. But
It
they
looks
sort of keep finding
like the New
themselves in
Zealander
these
team
sort of
are
tight
not gonna make the
situations
final
where
at the home event.
a bad tack or a bad jibe or, you know, in that one, just getting caught out the wrong side of a ley line. And once they get pushed back into the midfield, they seem to really struggle to sort of sail through. And I think that's just boat handling, really, because if you look at some of the quicker teams, you know,
pass them on the
the
next
Kiwis and the
beat,
Aussies
which
and
I think brought the
even the
biggest cheer
French in
we've
these
had from a
conditions, whenever they're
sailing
back in the
crowd.
pack, they always sort of find a way to be able to sail through. And one thing that's always consistent, regardless of whether they're in the front or the back, is just their manoeuvres are always so clean. You never see them missing tacks or, you know, coming out too slow out of manoeuvres. So I think that's probably where Nathan's struggling at the moment, and obviously that's just the inexperience and the crew that are a lot sort of younger and newer to the circuit than some of the other teams.
How frustrating do you think that is for him? You know what I mean? It's at the end of the day, it's a team sport, and often sailing, you know,
I think winning at home is one
originated
of
as
the
a bit
most
of
special
a
things in sport.
well,
It's
depends
just
what kind of boat you're sailing, but an individual sport, and it's hard when you're having to rely on, I guess, a whole other team. And for him, there's a lot of pressure, like you say. He wants to get another drive. He's an extremely talented sailor, and he's got to rely on his other sailors to do their job. So that must be pretty tough for him.
Yeah, and like at what point are you know, having a seat is great, but if you compare it to Formula One, if you're getting a seat and you're not getting good results, at some point the pressure starts to build, and then, you know, are you doing yourself sort of more harm? I think for Nathan, and that's, I guess, where, you know, we come in and the fans and obviously the coaches and things from other teams, is you look at what he's doing, what he's in control of. You know, is he getting on the boat off the start line well? Are they getting into good positions? Those sorts of things. And if he's doing that consistently, and then just sort of falling backwards through the fleet, then I think you can draw some pretty clear conclusions that he's obviously still got it. But if they start making a bunch of mistakes, or they're not putting the boat in the right place, that's probably really the only time that can sort of reflect back in a negative way on him. So I haven't seen that yet, and I don't think we will see it at all. But, you know, I think the telling point was when he jumped into the Kiwi boat for that Sydney event. You know, the previous event he was with the Swiss and he got dead last, and then jumped in with the Kiwis, who are, you know, obviously a pretty solid team in terms of how long they've spent together and how much time on the boat. The experience level was a lot higher, and he was straight away competitive. Like, he should have won that event. And he ended up
Tom,
second.
congratulations. Obviously bounced back from Christchurch pretty nicely.
Shall we see if we can tune in here now and drop down to the interview that they're doing with Tom Slingsby
that
now?
was a really good race. We got a
let's
great
see if we
start.
can line
and
it up.
The conditions are perfect, and yeah, we're able to sail away. It felt like a bit of the Australia of old there.
It definitely looked like that. You guys extended. I think there were some questions whether, you know, the crash would spook you or not, but you went firing off that start line.
Yeah, I'm glad no one was near us. It felt like we had no boats around us, and we had all the room, could do whatever we wanted. It was a nice, great start, and we're excited. This is perfect conditions. Hopefully we can back it up with 2 more good races.
Race course looks, fairly simple. Is it a little bit of shifts to play with? Not too gusty?
It is shifty. It's about shifting between about 20 degrees, so it's not one of those courses where you just go straight to the boundaries. It doesn't look that shifty, but it really is. So it's good. It means there's some overtaking lanes if you do get back.
Thanks, Tom. I'll let you go debrief. Thanks for chatting.
Well, there you go. That just reinforced what we were saying, Chris and Anna, about how shifty the course is. You notice the look on Tom's face then? The stress was gone.
I don't know if I've ever seen him that happy and calm, pre-race. I've seen him like that after racing, but seems in a very relaxed place, doesn't he?
Yeah, so that obviously tells me he's got a pretty solid, fast boat underneath him, and he feels good about it. Have we had a quick chat about what happened in the practice race with this USA boat?
Nah, because that was a full human error, wasn't it? So, yeah, I mean, you guys are the experts here, but that was a cock-up on their end, right?
Well, we believe so. All our best friends out there in the teams and all that have gone to ground. Steely, we can't get any intel out of anybody.
Yeah, I mean, if you were... Oh. Yeah.
Go on,
what?
say it.
Come on, say
it. So this is what happens. Everyone's job protection and tries to be mates.
Well, not for me anyway. I was just doing some research there, but the word on the street was it came from position 2. Well, actually position 3 from the back end. So that would be the wing trimmer.
That's the middle of the boat both ways.
But, yeah.
Did someone press the wrong button, basically?
Yes, so basically to explain, like, you've obviously got your wing sheet, which controls the bottom section of the wing, and whatever forces against that, being the breeze, will depend on what side that sits on. But then you actually have a camber button control, which can manipulate the wing, and that basically rotates the camber arm from one side to the other. So when they go through the tacks and the jibes, you pull the wing sheet from the bottom end, but then you press the camber button to invert it the other way, and depending on what time you press that camber button will depend on when the wing pops through, and that can be the difference between a good jibe and a bad jibe. But yesterday when they were sailing along a straight line, somehow that button got pressed, so you've got the wing set one way and all the forces for straight line, your riding moment and all that sort of acting against the force of the breeze. But then if you press that button and the wing pops, all of a sudden the force inverts and goes the other way. So it actually sucked the boat over to leeward really hard, and it was pretty aggressive, and haven't seen one go over that fast.
No, it's amazing how quickly it all happened, and how one wrong move can cause that much chaos. But obviously we're gearing up for the start here, so talk to me about what you guys are seeing.
Just off the screen at the very top left, here they come in now. The French went way over to the boundary, and Quintan wants to come in flat out. He might get locked out here.
Yeah.
He might get locked out.
I think the Aussies are in good shape again here, Jody.
Germans
and the Aussies have got the best slingshot here.
Great start between Canada again. Good start. He's on the line, but he just couldn't hit it at pace like the Germans and the Aussies.
See, in that first sort of 10 seconds after the start, any boat that can put their bow down and get free, which you see from those front 3 boats right now, they just jump out and they just start, from here it gets a lot easier. I think the Germans are just going to hold on to the inside lane here, but the Aussies are pretty quick over the top, so...
Okay, so the young German team's got plenty of pressure on him. Tom Slingsby, who nailed that last race, right up his clacker. They're going to come over here to this boundary. They're going to have to jibe out early, the Germans, to give the Aussies some boundary room, which might play nicely for the Aussies as they get nice and deep. Geez, they push the envelope there on the boundary.
Yeah, the Aussies actually nailed that jibe and ended up on the outside. I think the Germans will still protect the lead here, but currently the Aussies will actually be breathing air in front there at the moment. So a really nice move from the Australian team there.
I like what Spain were doing. They jibed off early, and here we go now. We've got that shot now. And they seem to get a real nice knock just as they jibed. They just sent him straight down the course. So
and they won't look at the bottom of the course there, but they'll come back on starboard. So this could get real fruity. They might actually benefit the Australians here.
Once again, Great Britain out the back. And they're nearly 10 k's slower than the rest of the 5 knots, sorry. Not allowed to use kilometres. 5 knots slower than the rest of the fleet. Look at this, nice and tight. The Aussies on the inside. What can Spain do? Give us a high shot, Mr. Director. There you go. Thanks, bud. Aussies are just going to get into the zone first, so they're going to own it. But Spain right up there at Kalakaoli. Good racing.
Just drive back and fell off the foil there, so... Reasons like it shifted left for me at the moment, though, so that would suit these boats going around the right-hand gate.
Right hand looking downhill?
Yeah, right turn is what...
So these guys here that are coming in towards the Morgan's Point side, of which used to be the old Artemis base, for anyone that watched the America's Cup, right in front of the Adrenaline Lounge here. They don't look like they're coming off that boundary real good.
Yeah, look, have a look here though. One thing that will be interesting is if you look at where New Zealand is, they're the only boat really that's, well, they're on the only boat that's on starboard other than the Brits, but they're out of sync with the main sort of part of the fleet. So, you know, they went around that bottom mark, I think, in 7th maybe, but you watch them just start picking boats off one by one just because they're able to sail the modes and angles that they want to sail.
Great work there, guys. Love it.
I wouldn't be surprised if they ran the top mark and sort of 4th here.
Tight cross here between Canada and the Aussies. I think the Canadians are going to go over the top of them. The Aussies are bow down now. Slingsby does not want to put any more damage bill on that rental car that he's got.
That's actually a big right shift at the moment then, because the Canadians went around that bottom mark in 4th, I think.
Nice work, Danny. That was good at the bottom.
It looks light over on that in front of the Adrenaline Lounge where they all come over intact. It took them a long time to build up their speed and get their nose back up into the course. So, as you said, Canada went left, stayed in pressure, and it certainly paid for him.
The Aussies will be able to get to the ley line here at the top, though, so they'll come across the starboard right. I think Phil and the Canada team will get to the ley line for the right turn top, but they won't have right of way, so they have to cross in front of Australia here, otherwise they will be giving way.
Come on, guys.
Nice aggressive tack there by the Canadians, and from that shot, the Aussies are going to have a real good crack at him here.
Overlay here, eh?
Yeah, you can hear Phil just saying we're well overlay, so...
I am not crossing.
Yeah, no, they're... Oh,
the Germans.
Germany. Big bow down.
Oh, mate. The pressure's on now. We're going to hopefully see a little bit of excitement.
The poor number 6 sail on that German boat. She was in the middle of the boat when that happened. It would have been like she was on a bucking bull.
What do we say? Kiwis coming back 4th at the top. That's the power of being able to sync with your competition and just being able to sail targets and hit modes that you want to be able to sail. They might even end up 3rd here. So
yeah, cross in front of Spain. Eric Heil, he's gone backwards in this work. He was way up there and he just back to 6th. Pretty tight, those last 4 boats.
Hey, Chris, can you expand on what you said before about the Kiwis and, I guess, sailing their own race and being a little bit disjointed from the rest of the fleet?
Yeah, so they went around the left-hand gate mark, looking downwind, so left turn, and they were quite far back, but I could sort of see straight away where they set up that once they went around that mark, they sailed for probably 15, 20 seconds and then tacked, and they were out of sync with the whole fleet, so they're on the opposite tack, and what that meant was they were just able to sail freely whatever mode they wanted to be able to sail. So if they were in good pressure, they could put the bow down and really accelerate. Or if they wanted to sail higher and get to pressure that might be sort of a little bit higher above them, they were able to do that as well. And so just not having boats dictate your mode around you, I think adds up massively when you're sailing in a fleet of 10 boats sort of at these speeds. And it's pretty amazing how quickly you can pull boats back, especially when the race course is quite big and open like it is out there in Bermuda.
Yeah, 100%.
This will tell us a fair bit about this racetrack, as we've got a split going on between the Aussies and the Canadians. The Canadians went left-hand looking downhill in the first lap and made big gains. Just because their course set up, they're now going to the right, and the Aussies are going to the left. So when we get this next shot in, look at Slingsby bow down coming out of that left-hand side, which is a great sign if you're a skipper about to hit a boundary. to tack onto a huge lift.
And look at that, just looking at the shots there, the Kiwis went around that bottom mark with the Spanish, and they weren't free. They weren't able to sail the mode they wanted, and that resulted in, when they wanted to do the tack, they weren't able to stay on the foil. So equally, they picked up places really quick in that first upwind leg, but you can lose them equally as fast as well. And we're seeing them in a little bit of a tight spot as they went around the bottom mark there, but at the moment they are in the middle. They've got space again, so keep an eye on them.
And there's the cross. The Canadians have done quite well still. They've probably pulled maybe 50 metres out of the Aussies.
Yeah, but they are again out of sync, and I like where the Aussies are right now because they're sailing up the course in what looks like a right-hand shift. So I don't think Phil and the Canadian team are going to be able to get to the lay line for the top here, and the Aussies will be able to. So if they can both do one manoeuvre into the top, it will be very interesting.
I believe we're having a few tech issues with our stream, so bear with us, people. Our tech people with the sport guys and SailGP are working feverishly on trying to get this stream working for you, so please hold in there. We're doing our best.
Are we calling these maneuvers? We're not allowed to be calling them maneuvers. It's tacks or jibes, right, Chris?
Tacks or jibes.
Yeah.
Tacks or jibes.
Tacks or jibes, like that tack.
Yeah.
The Aussies will come back strong here at the top because they're going to lay right turn, and the Canadian team are not laying left turn. So although the Canadians might be 50 metres ahead at the moment, they'll have to do one more tack, and I think the Aussies will come flying through to leeward here.
Have a go at Phil Snell, Charlie. Just got a big header right at the worst time. The Aussies are probably going to cross. No. Nah, he ducked again. Oh, here we go. Slammed right in his face.
He's going to go straight through to leeward, and he's going to lay the top. So even though he wasn't crossing,
Phil, bad
he's still in
tack.
front.
Yeah, he might have been better off just maybe pushing and trying to... Oh, he couldn't have split. Look at that. No, he couldn't have split. He had to do that.
The mistake that he made was when he crossed in front of the Aussies on port, 3/4 of the way up that beat. He should have tacked on them and starboard then, so that he was in phase and then he was able to get to the lay line with one more manoeuvre. By splitting, he just put himself in a position where he had two tacks and he gave away the left-hand side of the course, which was only one manoeuvre, and that's how the Aussies got past. Tack, I should say, sorry.
The tack.
You're all good.
The tack. Denmark around third, just in front of New Zealand. GBR have finally pulled their finger out of their arse, and they're having a decent crack in this one.
France, though, what has happened to them? They're way back.
Yeah, not sure. The DFL. Even Outridge is in front of him. That's how far behind they are. Outridge has just pulled another position on that tack in front of the Germans. They're going backwards, the poor Germans, in this race. After it's given a wrap, the old commentator's curse has kicked in massive for them guys. But not for this team. Nice job at the top. Slingsby's got about 50-metre lead coming in the last jibe. You see the board go down now. As long as they get this jibe clean, I can't see the Canadians doing any passing. No room for them at all there. Slingsby, the Australian team, around the bottom mark.
It's going to be a repeat of race one, Jody. Same 1-2, same order.
Yeah, and that is a stamp, mate. They've come out here, the Australians, and they said, you know what? Stuff you, Christchurch. We're going to give this thing a good crack. And that's now 2 races from 2 for the Aussies. And that will put huge confidence into them. It'll put fear into the rest of the fleet. Canadians second. Denmark coming in for third. And at this stage, the Kiwis should hold off. A fairly fast finishing Great Britain team for fourth. Can't see any of them changes, positions being changed at all. Eric Hall, God, they've had a shocker.
And when it comes to the overall, guys, I mean, obviously it's a huge race for third at the moment. There's 6 teams gunning for that third spot. So, I mean, obviously we've got the Aussies and the Kiwis who 1 and 2 on the massive leaderboard. But, yeah, it's going to be really interesting who's going to get that third spot. Phil Robinson, I mean, the Canadians, they're looking strong time and time again.
After the finish, okay?
Yeah, he always does. He's always there or thereabouts, Phil, as long as he's not getting himself into trouble with Craig Mitchell and the umpiring team. You know, he's there. Geez, I can't believe what happened to the Germans and the French. Obviously, we're not privy to anything live, so we're relying on what their broadcasts are putting out to us. But, yeah, they were way back.
The Germans were right up there. It's, you know, 3/4 of the way up that beat, and they just came out of attack, and they ventilated. I don't know if they got too high on the foil or what, but they came crashing down, and yeah, they just from there they never recovered. They went from probably fourth or fifth, and they dropped all the way back to eighth. So they'll be pretty upset.
And I guess at this high of a level, it only takes one mistake, and then your confidence just gets knocked a bit. And then the pack just swallows you, and then it's hard to get back. You go, Anna, give us a rundown on this start. What's your thought on this start?
Well, the French obviously they were coming in thinking that they were going to be able to cross above everyone, and obviously that didn't work out. And then the Aussies obviously
just have a look at the angles after the start here. The Germans are the lowest, the Aussies will be the second last, and then the Canadians up the top. They're aiming quite high, but as soon as they get free, they put the bow down, and that's when all the boats get ripping. So the guys that can find space on the line are always the ones that benefit off start.
Well, it was interesting to see hear what Tom said in that interview about feeling like there was no other boats around. You know, that would be the best feeling in a league like this with this many boats on the start line, to be able to just have that, I guess, that clear area, that advantage, that slingshot, right?
Yeah, and again, going back to what I was saying, I think a good start at the wrong end of the line is better than an average one at the right end. You know, like the bias is important, but you know,
Aussie, Canada, 1-2 finishes with New Zealand finishing third in race number one. They finished in fourth in race number two, so they're certainly in the mix, trying to get back to that form they had when they won their event in Christchurch. We go on board now. Peter Burling, Pete, I know you've got very good memories of sailing here in Bermuda, but what has the course been like here this week, and especially in that last race?
With Pete here.
Yeah, hopefully we can get it turned up. Hopefully,
beautiful spot here in Bermuda, and
hopefully
our
like audio issues are getting sorted out.
The water, so it's always really nice to come back. Beautiful day out here. We've got that, probably averaging 25 km/h wind on the high-speed configuration, so it's slightly on the bottom end of this configuration, but it makes for some really changeable racing, which I think is what you're seeing.
And Liv, you seem to be given some fairly tricky positions at Mark 1 to pick yourself through. What's the key when you are back in the pack out there on the water?
Don't be like that, mate.
I feel like that's a bit rude. We're definitely taking some opportunities. And I think splitting has done us a few favours coming around that bottom mark. But yeah, there's definitely opportunity out there, and hopefully it changes at Mark 1 for this one.
Well, Pete, to counter that, I have heard you're going pretty fast. CJ on board the Canadian boat said the Kiwis are rapid. So what's your special trick for that?
Well, we try and sail in our own patch of water and pull off some good manoeuvres, so there's not much special to it. It seems like it's puffy enough. There's a fair bit in this course. If you get in a good lane, you really pay for it. So, hopefully a bit more of that this race, but hopefully start a little closer to the front.
Pete Byrne, Liv Mackay, thanks for your time. Wish you the best of luck in the third and final race today.
Great to hear from Pete down there. I've found it interesting to see how these sort of teams, I guess, can configurate themselves to sort of maximise, each team. And the Kiwis have taken JJ out of the boat, Josh Jr., as a grinder, and now he's actually in the coaching booth with Ray Davies, which has been, I think, a real benefit for the team to have a sort of sailor in the coach's booth and someone who's got that, on-board experience. What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
Yeah, I think they're probably the first sort of notable sort of move to put obviously one of the sailors that was on the boat into the coaching booth. So I think they've probably seen a lot of opportunity there and taking the lead and trying to strengthen the coach's box. I mean, you obviously got Ray Davies in there as well, who's a legend of the sport, and when it comes to tactics, he's definitely right up there. So the mix between his experience and knowledge, and then having someone who's been sailing the boats for, the last couple of years, and JJ, I think is a really strong sort of move. And for the people that sort of don't know out there, it's kind of like NFL, where the coach has got a direct line of communication to the quarterback, and the coach booth set up, they have a direct line of communication to the boat, and so you almost, I'm not sure sort of how involved they are in making some of those decisions. I'm sure most of it comes from off the boat, but you can almost sort of prompt the guys into saying, hey, there's a good breeze for right turn at the top, or it's right shift, whatever. So it's definitely a change in the game for sure. Most other sailing, you don't have any communication with anyone off the boat, so I think that's quite a cool innovation that the league's taken, and it adds another element into the off-the-water side as well.
Yeah, no, I think. Do you think we're going to see more teams maybe potentially doing what the Kiwis have done, and taking the sailor off the boat to kind of have that perspective?
Everyone tries to compare Spain and France because we've got the same age.
For sure.
Diego is kind of the same generation, so it's quite easy to compare and try to see who's the best team.
Clear to see that the Kiwis over the last few events have been really, really strong. Won 3 in a row with
Diego is a super powerful athlete. I'm convinced that Diego or me or another youngster will take the lead soon.
What's going on and the teams
France
are
well
sailing
really well, the boat lately, and they are a very strong contender to make that final, but there is also another, 5 teams.
Another interesting dynamic that I have learned about is sort of,
we don't worry too much about the other teams at this stage. We just got to go out and make sure we have some good weekends.
And I heard the Danish have taken a different tact and got kind of like a competition within their team in some way. So like they don't really know who's going to be sailing on the boat until like the day or closest to the event anyway, and it's whoever's sailing the best at the time, instead of kind of nourishing, nurturing like a solid team the whole time. It kind of, they're taking people in and out of the boat. So I guess it'll be interesting to see how that pays off, sort of whether that sort of disrupts
we changed a little bit our approach in straight
the team dynamic, having that competition within the competition, or whether
really
it's
consistent on the maneuvers.
What are your thoughts on that?
We know that usually Bermuda is a lot about speed. Because the racetrack is a bit longer, you can make huge advantage on the straight lines.
All these teams.
I think we've been flying under the radar. We are in a super good position for how the season has been going for us, and the best thing for us is how we've been improving throughout the season. This is what gives us confidence to feel that we can keep improving and arrive to Sampra in a good shape.
Let's go, full speed.
Yeah, it's going to be a big fight.
The girl who's a strategist on the back end up moving forward and either doing flight control or grinding, and so I think it's just figure it out as you go type thing. And the cool thing about it is obviously all the teams have access to each other's data sort of from the boat each day. So if one team's doing something differently, everyone else can pick up on it and respond and match it if they want.
Yeah, I mean the competition side of the pressure is interesting. I guess it depends on the personalities and I guess like whether people thrive on the unknown and whether you're going to get selected or whatever on the day. I remember when I was competing at the Olympic Games, and the different teams who were sort of obviously going to the Olympics, the Americans had a unique structure. We sort of were able to qualify and check that box, months before the Olympic Games, whereas the Americans, they ran their Olympic trials literally like weeks before the Olympic Games. And that was an interesting dynamic to kind of have that pressure on who was going to go to the Olympics right before the event, because some people could argue that then you kind of relax and then you're like, oh well, to perform again kind of thing. You've just performed at the trials and now you're going to perform at the Olympic Games, but often it paid off. So it'll be interesting to see how I guess the Danish go with this sort of structure.
Well, I think the one thing that it does do is it makes the level of everyone better, because if you know what you're, if you know that you're, let's say you're not going to be on the boat, you're going to be less motivated once you get given that information to really put your best foot forward for the racing that you're not involved on. It's hard to when you want to be on the boat. So I mean, for for a selection sort of situation, if you don't know that you're on the boat until the last minute, you're going to be really putting your best foot forward every day and really pushing hard. And and that's not going to make the people around you better as well. So it just lifts the whole intensity a lot.
Yeah, 100%. And practices, I guess it puts the pressure and the intensity into practice too. You know, so you're kind of having that constantly instead of just on race days maybe as well.
I mean, if you were told that you weren't going to the Olympics and it was 3 years away, well, then the person that was going wouldn't have a training partner for the next 3 years, would they?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, what are your predictions? So we've got one more race today, and then obviously we've got tomorrow, and then we really are in the business end of the season when it comes to the season. And what are your predictions to get into that final race in San Francisco? I guess, like we talked about, it's kind of a big race for third, really. You've got some epic teams who could make it. Who do you reckon could or would?
I sort of think that the two obvious ones would have to be New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah, for the third spot.
Based on their form, obviously the Australians for the last few years, but also the Kiwis have been the dominant team this season in terms of event wins. So you'd have to say those two, and then the third spot. It's really hard to call that one because a lot of these teams have been struggling with consistency. If I had to put money on it, it'd be the Canadians, but they obviously missed out on a lot of points in Sydney where they weren't able to sail. So it's super difficult to call that third spot. I mean, we've seen really strong glimpses from France, but they struggle with a little bit of consistency as well. So yeah, I mean that's going to be the interesting one after this weekend. I guess we're going to have a much better idea of who's left for that third spot, I think. For sure.
I think, the Canadians, for me, still sort of stand out. But like you say, anything can happen when it comes to these boats. Like one crash or like any tech issues and you're out for a regatta. And at this end of the season, there's no room for error, particularly if you want that third spot. So, yeah, I guess when it comes to France, I mean, it was predicting that it was going to be a little bit windier today, and I was quite excited to see France.
Obviously, you guys are bouncing
step
back
up because they're obviously
with
so
the new
confident
bow.
in these sort of conditions.
How's the racing going out here?
Yeah, it's kind of.
We're slowly getting
Shall we
warmed
see if we
up.
can tap into this
We had a lot of
interview
boat
here
issues
with
before
the
the
Danish?
start, so we didn't really get to do the warm-up we wanted, but I think we're getting warm now, and I think hopefully next race will be the best one of them.
They're pretty nice conditions out here. What's sort of the key to be able to get around this racetrack?
I think for us it's just trying to stay out of traffic, keep it clean. There's a little bit better breeze on the right, so those boats that get the ride early seem to gain a lot, so we're going to try and fight a bit more for that.
And how far in advance are you planning those mark roundings?
Already at the start, because you need to know where you are on the M1, so which is, it's a bit hard sometimes because it doesn't always go as planned. Most of the time it doesn't go as planned, so but now you plan ahead, and we already have the start plan sorted now, so it's quite a detailed structure to how we race it.
Well, I'm sure you're not thinking too far ahead, but obviously overall standings got shaken up after Christchurch. Are you thinking about that, or are you going for the race win every time?
Yeah, we don't think of the all. We just make sure we get a good race every time we're here, and then eventually we'll get some points. So we just got to put a little bit better race together next race, and a top two would be a good one now to finish on.
Well, we'll let you get into your pre-start. Thanks, Nikolai.
Thanks.
Well, there you go. He was sort of saying exactly what we said during the call, I and Chris, that the right-hand side looks a bit more breeze, a bit more favourable, so we seem to be doing something right.
Hey, you guys are the experts here, so looks like what you're saying is true.
I will give a shout-out to Leo Takahashi. I've been trying to get him to come online, and he will not come online. He will not even answer our calls anymore. So, Leo, next time you want a house to stay in Wanji, you're going to have to find an Airbnb, mate.
Mate, don't give him a shout-out if he's not helping out the boys.
Well, what's the opposite of a shout-out?
I don't know, just bag him.
Okay. Fully bagged.
Yeah.
Leo Takahashi, lose my number.
Leonard's obviously, he's an interesting situation. We talk about fighting for seats on a boat.
Yeah.
He's been through, multiple teams now in flight control position, and he was supposed to be a stand-in flight controller for the US team for the first two events, but I think they really saw the value in having experience in that position, and so he's managed to sort of hold his position in the US team for the time being. So he's a very talented sort of young sailor, and if you look at how many guys there are out there that are his age, there's no one really on the boat. So I think he's certainly a household name that you're going to hear plenty more of in the next few years.
He might be talented on flight control, but he ain't talented on answering phone calls.
Maybe
Anyway.
they're all grounded, you know, from after what happened yesterday.
They've all got muzzles on.
Yeah, they've all
nobody
taken-
is talking.
They've taken their phones off them. Like,
I think you're right. So this is really interesting. So this is exactly what's happened in all previous two races. Phil Robertson has been the first one to go into the box every time. So his playbook is obviously to do that.
Yeah, well, this is actually the tactic the Aussies used to use. But one thing that's notably different on this sort of series is these boundaries that you can see on the tele screen that we're looking at, the virtual boundaries, those will impact the time and distance for the boats massively, and they change from venue to venue. So you have to adjust your starting strategy accordingly. Once again, though, Phil, first on to starboard, he's got everyone coming towards him. He can make his decision on where he wants to line up. He can line people up on starboard, or he can turn up and take the high road. Whereas you look at this congestion down at the pin end, and I think the Aussies are going to struggle at the moment, trying to punch through the leeward there. And the Kiwis can't put the bow down either, so the congestion is not where you want to be on these starts. The Canadians here look to see them get an awesome slingshot, and as long as their time and distance is right, they'll probably lead at Mark 1.
The Swiss might be a little bit early, might blow off a little bit of time, but if they can get his bow down, he might come off that top end of the line and absolutely smoke it.
Spain. Yeah.
Spain,
Spanish
great
and the
start.
Canadians, they were the furthest away from the line at the gun, but they were a much higher speed, so look to see Canada and Spain lead here at Mark 1, and the Aussies managed to just get away down further down the line, so they'll be third at Mark 1, I think.
New Zealand out the back. They are DFL with GBR. Spain, the young guns, into Mark 1 first.
it looks like my dad's dusted off the hangover and he's come to the party. He's part of the wider training squad for the Spanish, and looks like he's doing his job now, Dad.
Well, welcome back, Hamish. Good job.
That is a perfect example of a good start at the wrong end.
Yes.
They were at the completely unfavoured end, but they were on their own at speed, and both those two boats that are leading at the moment, they just had better speed at the start.
And like you say, just away from the congestion and away from the chaos, and being able to just sail and clear breeze, right?
Yeah, exactly. Put the bow down and you're able to sail 5-6 knots faster.
That's normally the Frenchies' MO, you know. They normally try to do that, hit the line with plenty of speed and just find a gap. Phil Robertson, he's on course today, isn't he? 2-2, the Aussies are 3. I think Phil's going to lead into this bottom mark.
Yeah, Phil's going to lead and the Spanish are going to split right. And the Aussies look like they're going to follow the Canadians, I think, into left turn.
Remember, Nikolai said the right-hand side of the course is favoured.
At the
That's
bottom,
where
yeah.
Phil and the Aussies are going to.
And Nikolai is going to the opposite mark, so he's not currently following the race strategy that he talked about.
Maybe that
Big
was more
right-hand
force
shift
from the
at the
fleet.
moment. Look at Canada and Australia, they're in a massive right here at the bottom of the course. They'll tack over here
Yeah.
and have a really big, they'll have a really good angle going up the course on starboard.
I think it was the New Zealanders tacked pretty early. Yep, straight around the mark. And Outreach and his Swiss team also did it.
So the
Look at
Spanish are in the
that
best
bow
picture
down.
on the course from what I can see, but they're going to be sailing across the course on a big header, but it looks really light on that right-hand side of the course, so the Spanish might jump into first here.
Yeah, it looks
Oh,
like
they've
they have.
smoked them.
Diego as well. Diego, the skipper on the Spanish team, has just coming off a big win in the 49ers as well. Pre-Olympic regatta in Marseille just a couple of weeks ago. Came out in first place there. So he's, not doing too bad at his day job as well.
So that right shift that we talked about at the bottom of the course there, the Canadians and the Aussies sailed round the bottom mark and they went all the way to boundary, so they sailed a massive header across there, and it was only probably for 45 seconds, but you know, that amount of time on these boats is a lot of distance. So they sailed hundreds of metres on a knot. And the boats that got onto starboard first, we talked about the Kiwis going left turn at the bottom and straight into attack. They got on the lift attack straight away, and they've made massive gains. And there's going to be a big congestion at the top here with those boats, especially the ones coming across from the right-hand side on starboard. So, you know, the Spanish and the Danish are going to leg out in front of everyone here, and then there's going to be about 4 boats that are all fighting it out at the top, and we could see some action there.
Normally when you bow down like that coming out of the gate, you're normally pretty excited because when you flop it over on the other tack, you go straight up the course, but those boats from the right went pretty much knock-knock.
I think we go straight, Carolina.
Here we go, gang.
Spain, they are dialed in here.
Yep.
Going to make that top mark. I think they might just pinch in around it.
Go up a bit.
Nikolai Hested's going to have plenty on here with Phil Robertson and the Australians tacking on the starboard. Will he cross? I think he's just crossed over. There you go, Spain first. Denmark second, Aussies third. And the Canadians. Those 2 boats are just tied together the whole day.
They have been, haven't they?
Yeah.
Very strong day there for both those 2 at the moment. Can they finish this one off? Bit of action looking back at the top mark there between the Swiss and the Kiwis. Swiss
Kiwis
just
are
squeezing
deep.
over the top, and if they get over the top, the Brits might be able to get over the top also. The
Kiwis are very deep in this race.
They'll get rolled by the Brits as well. Not the best race here for the Kiwi fellas.
Not at all.
Have we go at that. GBR straight past them.
And France too. What happened there?
I don't know. I don't know whether they've sustained damage in that second race. They're just dog slow, mate.
Very, very strange because they were strong yesterday. They were strong in that first race today.
And it's the same configuration, foil-wise, everything that we had yesterday. So we've had some time sailing this. See, I don't know. I guess we'll read it in tomorrow's newspapers. Meanwhile, the Spanish had to pretty hard to get down to this bottom mark, which has that open the door for Nikolai Hested to get up on the inside with a bit of a slingshot move. Oh, he might be able to hold on there. What do you reckon, Steely, or do you reckon he'll bail out?
Yeah, he'll take off, and it's going to be a down-speed tap. The Danish will fall off the foil here, I think. Yeah, there they go. They're off the foil, so they got slowed, and you don't want to get slowed just before you tap. The other boat that's just done that is the Canadians try to go on the outside of the Aussies there, and they'll be slow for this attack, so they might be able to keep it foiling just, but they're going to lose a lot in that manoeuvre still.
Canada had to tack off. Eric Hall went left. Bottom mate, and then heading over to the right-hand side. So will he pick anything up? It didn't work in the first lap, but as we know here in Bermuda, it's very shifty.
And it's getting lighter. The breeze looks like it's dropping quite a bit. So I think just being able to stay on the foils is going to be absolutely paramount in this last race.
I really
Great
like
call,
the
Anna.
Danish right now. They've got good pressure on that right. So the early tack, even though it cost them, they're going to come back with a right-hand shift, and I think they might be in front of the Spanish here.
Yeah, check out the snail trails that the boats are now running. Going up that ladder really well. They come from the left-hand side, and that right-hand side just looks like pain.
Yeah, and it's just looking so much lighter at the bottom of the course there. So I think that's where people are going to make some big mistakes.
Spanish just cross in front of the Danish, so now the next question will be, can the Danish lay the top? If they can, they'll be in front. Top left turn I'm talking about, but I don't think they will lay. Interesting thing, the Spanish going all the way out to the right, they're well over the lay line here from what we can see on the TV, so that's going to put them in a compromised position because they're going to have to sail a lot of distance to get to the left top mark. And even though they might cross in front of the Danish will be able to tack and go right turn at the top and probably round the right mark in front.
Yeah, the Danes look like they're on a bit of a header. Will they tack early and try and get to that right gate to put pressure on the Spain?
Tack now. If they tack now, I think they'll be in. they'll cross behind, but they'll be in front by the time they go around the gate.
They're setting up now. The board goes down.
We go left. We go left.
Yeah, see, so the Spanish will go left turn at the top here, and they've got right away, so they'll cross in front of the Danish. The Danish will go around the right mark almost the exact same time.
This is the final leg down to the finish. Once they get around this top mark, look who's coming back into the picture. The redhead.
Almost
No.
simultaneous rounders.
The Kiwis have come up.
Yeah, they're going all right too.
They're in fourth now, so I love it. You concentrate on one part of the fleet and then you miss a lot. It's really hard to cover this whole fleet. That's for
That's
sure.
going to hurt the Kiwis.
Kiwis get past the Canadians here as well.
Oh, Phil Robertson just tried to slam one right in front of him, but it didn't pay off that time.
Coming down.
He's still H1. He needs to get up on the foil. Otherwise he gets swallowed by the Germans and the fast Great Britain team coming in there. GBR's probably the fastest out of that group, and then they are straight underneath the Germans. They'll possibly go around the outside of the Canadians here if you can get that boat moving.
Fairly simple. They live inside or not?
The Aussies look like they've got themselves back in the second spot, possibly making that bottom lay.
I don't think they're crossing. I don't think they're laying though, Jody. So the one that you got to look out for here will be, can they get across in front? And even if they can, they're still going to do 2 jibes into the bottom. So the Danish here will do 1 jibe. So I think the Danish will get past the Australians at the bottom here. If you're the Australians, you've got to come back before the zone. If you go to the zone, then you got to go around the mark. And the Danish will do 1 less manoeuvre, so they'll be in front. You watch.
And when these jibes are so close, it's 2 boards in, which is just really slow.
And Danish will just blast around the outside here. Oh, they could have gone inside if they wanted to.
They've got to get the board up. Here we go, the race is on. Young team of Spain, after a great start, have led all the way, and it's Spain for race number 3 win. But this is what the focus is on. Phil Robertson just slammed the Aussies up into the breeze. Great match race in there from Phil Robertson. Nikolai Sehested, sorry.
That was a very aggressive move.
Yeah.
Taking the Aussies out.
Again.
That's going to fire Tom up, that's for sure.
I think Nikolai just looked behind him and realised there was a big gap to the next boat, so he decided he wanted to have a bit of fun.
Bit of all or nothing.
That would have poked the bear with Slingers.
Yeah.
All right, good race here.
Great to see
Can
that.
Phil Robertson get on the inside? GBR have the rights there at the moment. Okay, will this be a repeat? Will Giles Scott just slam him up? Here he goes. The big laugh. You can see there Phil Robertson steering a leeward. And exactly the same as what happened to the Aussies. Pushed him up into the wind. Giles Scott finally got that thing fired up. And they get over for 5th place, just in front of the Canadians.
That was an epic, the final race of the day.
That was good.
Yeah, I loved it.
How's the boat doing? That's good though. There's some real good stuff there.
But once again, France, second last, and Outridge in that Swiss team, they are last.
You're battling there.
You can't blame the conditions. The conditions are perfect. You cannot want for better conditions in these foiling boats. So,
these conditions are definitely more suited to the teams with experience, though, because there's a lot of gear changes that need to be made, mode changes when they're sailing the boats with the pressure differences. So, you know, if you want to increase your speed, there's a lot of changes to the setup you've got to do. You've got the you've got the obvious one of the wing trim with the camber and the twist
Remember,
controls.
Spain finished
and then
7th in race number 1. They finished 6th in race number 2, so they are trending up. Stock up definitely for Diego Botín and the Spanish. We now go on board. Diego, congratulations. From the start to the finish, you guys raced one of the best races we've seen from you. Obviously, the winners in Los
I think we're
Angeles.
going to see
How
if we
are these
can
waters in
get
Bermuda treating
Diego's
you, and what can we expect
answer
tomorrow?
here to the question. Hopefully we can throw it on to this interview now.
Yeah, it's super tough here. The fleet is super tight. We managed to get a good start, to get a good read on the fleet, and then, yeah, it was a very nice battle with the Danes to maintain that first place. It's going to be full on.
Diego, that starting was an absolute beauty. Is it just so much easier when you're first at Mark 1?
yeah, definitely. The hardest thing here is when you have boats around with, everyone is sailing the boats really well now, and getting out of these blocks is the hardest part. So yeah, if you're first, the race becomes so much easier.
Diego, it's got to feel great after we've had so many events where the wind has been maybe less than ideal. You get optimum conditions today. What are you expecting? What are you hearing tomorrow for the forecast? And what will you guys do differently, if anything?
Yeah, so tomorrow looks nice, a bit lighter, but we will be on the big foils, on the lighter boards and rudders. So yeah, we expect some more good and close racing. It's going to be beautiful.
All right, Diego, enjoy the victory. Congratulations. We will see you tomorrow.
All righty, well, there you go. Day one's in the bags here at Bermuda.
Yeah, for sure. Apologies for the tech issues. Hopefully we can get that all sorted for tomorrow. I think it was dropping in and out for people. So, yeah, really hope we can get that stuff. But, again, hit us up if you guys have any feedback. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. What are you guys' thoughts about the day, the overall?
Oh, well, I think obviously the Aussies are very strong. You know, they've come back after the disaster in Christchurch and showed the fleet that they're here for business. And Canadia's strong.
Canadia's strong.
Canadia's strong.
Yeah.
Very disappointed in the Swiss and also in the Great Britain. I know Joel Scott's a new driver, but they've got Goobs, they've got Parko, who've been in this series since day one.
Yeah.
You know, in the flight and the wing control, and they're very settled in their grinder positions as well. So, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that GBR boat.
Yeah, they don't have much excuse to be sailing the way they've been sort of sailing. They've got, like you say, a pretty solid team. So, yeah, not sure what's going on there.
Steely?
Well, yeah, just looking at the results here of that last race, and top average speed from the first two boats. So certainly pretty telling signs that when you get out in front or when you get your own piece of water, it's pretty easy to extend your lead or make up boats. And that was probably I think the most notable one of the day was the Kiwis were able to sail through the fleet a lot. They didn't start very well throughout the day, but you know, you kept seeing them pop up at the finish, and they've moved up into sort of fourth, fifth position. So I think, if I was to draw any conclusions there, they're certainly sailing fast. But yeah, I think the Aussies have stepped it up a level today, and they were pretty clearly head and shoulders above sort of everyone overall from the three races. But strong showing from Canada. I think that was the main one for me. Was Phil was sailing really well with those guys and getting off the start line in reasonable shape. So they're showing strong signs early on from day one as well.
Well, there you have it. That's Bermuda day one in the bag. On behalf of Arna Willcox and Chris Steele, I'd like to thank everybody who joined in. I know we've had a lot of audio issues, and we hope we can get that sorted for you tomorrow. So this is SailGP on the lock. We will see you all tomorrow.
Oh,
what happened?
That was tough because I was so distracted by all of that.
Oh,
so
same.
Oh my gosh.
We go on to the water. Nikolai Sehested and Denmark getting the great performance on the day. Not the biggest win, but again, finishing that last race in second place. Nikolai, take us through that final maneuver when you see your old friend Tom Slingsby pulling up aside. You didn't just force him left, you made sure he stayed left.
it was a quite important point for us. So we
I
also knew there was a big gap behind us.
My
so whoever was gonna
intention,
get that
I should have
point,
just probably just
was the one
ignored
who
the
wanted
tech
the most,
issues and just
he was in a
focused
bit of a
because I
vulnerable
was
position,
trying
so we
to,
felt pretty good going into it.
like, you know,
Katja,
talk to the
we
people
always
who
seem
were
to
like
think of Nikolai as a
messaging
nice
and stuff
guy,
like
but
that,
clearly
but
there's a
anyway,
slightly more
that was
aggressive
probably a
side to
mistake
him.
on my
Is
part.
that a move that we're going to see for the rest of the season, do you think? A more aggressive Rockwool Denmark?
I think it's important that we do talk to the people.
Yeah.
They know we're not getting ignored.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. I just feel like I sounded shit because I was half focused. I was
job
really
out there today.
watching.
You seem to do a good
So when you
job
threw
of
me a
coming-
question about the racing, I was like, oh fuck, what's happening with the
coming
racing?
back through the fleet, Katja.
Because I
What
was
was the
like not
key
even
to
looking at the
making
racing.
overtakes out there today?
Yeah.
Well, for us, it was really about getting a boat
Oh
that
my
was
god. Yeah.
sailing
So
fast.
okay.
I was trying to get an interview with someone, so I'm chatting
Had
away.
the options of
Yeah.
taking the
And
other mark and actually
she can
gaining a little bit
leave me out
on
of
one
it. Leave me
side.
out of
But,
it. Anyway,
but
so is this a
in reality, it
YouTube
was all
issue,
about good
Owen?
maneuvers and good boat speed.
Nikolai and Katja, thank you so much for your time. Wish you the best of luck tomorrow. Championship Sunday, 2 more fleet races, and Denmark is certainly in the mix.